And then I thank God for it, because that's why my grandmother never wore a burqa. My mother never wore a burqa. I never wore a burqa in Egypt because of Huda Sha'rawi. But guess what happened? In the 70s, with the Muslim Brotherhood taking over, they have regressed. Women now in Egypt are asking for the burqa. They are covering their faces. They are going back, and when I went to visit Egypt, I couldn't recognize it. I was shocked. What are they doing? I'm seeing Muslims in America who moved to America starting to wear this outfit right here in America for the first time. So a lot of people don't know that we are getting radicalized right here in America when we were not in our homeland. And this is the problem that we're facing now. So this misconception in the West that Muslim women are all united against this Sharia is not true. The few feminists are attacked, they are terrorized, they're driven out of the Arab countries, like a feminist in Egypt who had to leave because of the death threat. This is a fallacy. Muslim women who want to be respected in the Muslim world have to become as radical, if not more radical, than the men themselves. And that's why you see Muslim women who stand up and say, I'm proud my son is a jihadist and he died exploding himself. They get all the respect. And that's why in Gaza, a woman whose son committed a terror attack and died, she's now in the parliament. So if you want, as a woman, if you want to get respect in the Muslim world, you have to be as radical and Islamist as much as you can. And that gives you prestige and respect in the Muslim world. Those who become feminists are disrespected and they are shunned even by women. Last October, I spoke at Wesley College, and a large number of female members of the Muslim Student Organization were present while I was speaking. As I was describing the plight of the Muslim women under Sharia, I didn't see compassion from these girls to what I was saying. The majority of these young Muslim women who were all covered, they were only concerned about defending Sharia when I was criticizing it. They were concerned in discrediting what I was saying, that it's not true, that women are not disrespected. As I was describing the flogging and the stoning, I saw rigid faces looking at me. I saw hardened, unsympathetic hearts. Some were actually making faces at me as I was speaking. How dare you speak against Sharia, Allah's law? One of them was even defending polygamy. She was saying it's in the Quran, and men anyway are not doing it. My family, there is no polygamy in my family, she said. And I asked her, where does your family live? She said, here in America. I said, don't you know in America you're living under the US Constitution that doesn't allow polygamy? You have to try to go to the Middle East and see the tragedies that are happening from polygamy. This educated young girl in her 20s probably doesn't even know what her religion is doing to her fellow Muslim women. All they care about, all these student organizations care about, is to advocate that oppression of women, honor killing, has nothing to do with Islam. They want to say terrorism has nothing to do with Islam. Hate speech has nothing to do with Islam. 9/11, the London and Madrid bombing, has nothing to do with Islam. All they want to tell you is, as to women, they think that Islam honors them, and they say, it's the West. It's the West's fault that they have misconception about Islam, and we should educate the West to clarify all the misconceptions about the religion of peace. That is the agenda of these radical Muslim girls. They want to fix you, not fix what's going on in the Middle East. The Muslim girls that I met that night were not supporting the few Muslim feminists. They were not outraged by Sharia injustice to fellow Muslim women. How can we expect support from American feminists when Muslim women themselves are not outraged? The few of us who are outraged are considered infidels, are considered outrageous. We are the outrageous people, and not the people who are stoning women, unfortunately. Change must come from within in the Muslim world, and it's happening. It's not that depressing. I see some change in the Middle East. I see some change in Arab media, but the change is very little. It's very slow. But we have to do everything to make our case and to convince as many Muslim women first for change, and then everything will fall in the right place. Thank you very much.
She first came to the United States in 1976 to cover the Democratic Convention, and went back to her native France 10 years later, where she met a Syrian Muslim physician who was to become her husband. Well, several years of marriage and 2 sons later, her husband confided in her that he was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. She also found out that his brother was active in Al-Qaeda and was training for the jihad. Rosin's husband told their sons that he would be happy if they would martyr themselves for Allah. Well, Rosin eventually went to the FBI to tell them about her husband's terrorist activities and fundraising for organizations such as Hamas, and went and started reporting them to them on a regular basis. She even went to the extent, this is incredibly courageous, of wearing a wire at home and monitoring her husband's computer activities. She's now involved in a very bitter... She's involved in a very bitter custody dispute for her youngest son, who's here with us today, and is working on a book about her experiences. Rosin Gouaji.
First, I want to say thank you for coming and listening to our story. As Janet told you, in 1996, I went back to France when my mother was in a diabetic coma. I met my husband. He was a doctor, and he was, I'm going to talk to all the ladies here, Mr. Perfect. No smoking, no drinking, no women. A sportive, very smart, very good looking. I dated the man for over a year, and I married him. Even if my mother was a little bit skeptical, and she was from the right side, I will say, for those who know the politics in France, she was a Le Peniste. And at that time, she told me that it was very dangerous, maybe because they already know that over in Europe. They have what they call sleeper cell, les dormants. And they take very smart people, and they send them over to try to enter the political part of the country where they are sent. Well, I did not listen to that. I married in 1987 and stayed in New York. 1992, he decided to move to Memphis, where I had my second son. 1993, we received a letter from his brother. His brother was under a religious visa in Canada, and the letter was written in Arabic. But when my husband read that letter, his face changed, and his face changed forever in 1 minute. It was not the same man. I asked him, he said, well, my brother is going to leave Canada for jihad. And I said, what is jihad? He said, jihad is to be trained in the